And if there is anything I always say when I come to a forum like this, especially when I have young leaders, student leaders, it's to let them know, first of all, that no one was born perfect with speech. No one was born into perfection as far as communication is concerned. If there's one thing that you need to understand, it's the fact that all of us had to, at some point,
like Pepsi Cola.
all of us had to, at some point, rise to the challenge of learning how to speak and speak right. And not just speak right, also speak effectively, right? So if you are at a point, if you're at a point in life, if you're at a point in your career, if you're at a point in your developmental stage where you feel like, oh, I don't know how to speak well, I cannot speak well, I'm scared, I have stage fright, I don't know how to work on my confidence. One thing I need to let you know is no one was born into speaking. No one was born perfect when it comes to speech, right? No one was born into perfection when it comes to communication. All of us, at some point or the other, had to learn to be this way, to become the magnetic speaker. And if we were born perfect, as far as speaking is concerned, we probably would have started speaking from our mother's womb. But what you'd realize is that everyone had to learn how to speak. Everyone had to go through the ropes of saying dada, mama, learning the A, B, C, and all that stuff. So that's just to buttress my point that you are not too late, right? And can you learn this? Yes, you can. Is this a skill that is essential for you? Yes, it is. Regardless of what industry you opt to operate in, regardless of what you currently do right now, regardless of what you're even thinking for yourself for the future, communication skill, speaking skill is one that you would always find useful at every point in time. So this is not something to sleep on. You may not necessarily be an event host. You may not necessarily be a public speaker right now. You may not necessarily be a content creator that needs to speak all the time. But as long as you are human, as long as you want to interact, and as long as you want to work, interact with people, make money, you would always have a reason to speak. And that's why this is a skill that you need to intentionally build, at some point in your life. And I want to believe that for those who have joined this call, this is that point in your life where you're saying to yourself, I need to do more. I need to build this skill. I need to develop this skill. And I must say that you're in the right place. And that's why I sincerely thank everyone who thought that I should be on this platform with you today and who sent the invitation to join you. So, yeah, that's just a background to let you know that they are not in the wrong place, number one, and there is so much to learn from this particular place and time. I'm aware that we are considering the magnetic speaker. I don't know if the team has my slide now. I had sent it prior. So if you do, you may want to project it right now so that everyone can be on the same page as we gradually get into my presentation. If you have my slides, please go ahead to project it at this time. Just leave it at the intro face while I get it on. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so the main topic is something around being the magnetic speaker. But my own topic for this few minutes I'm going to spend with you is crafting your message, structure, storytelling, and persuasive delivery. My topic again is crafting your message, structure, storytelling, and persuasive delivery. Now, because the main theme touches on being a magnetic speaker, I think I want to ask a couple of people before we move on. Who is a magnetic speaker? What does it mean to be a magnetic speaker? Does anybody want to help us? What does it mean to be a magnetic speaker? If you want to answer, you can do that in the chat box, or you can ask to unmute your microphone so that you can quickly respond. Okay, I see a hand up. Dantex Web3, I hope that's the name, but please go ahead.
Okay, so what I feel is the definition of being a magnetic speaker.
Right. Someone who can draw the attention of everyone. That's a very good way to put it. A magnetic speaker is someone who can draw the attention of everyone, who has the charisma, who has the confidence, and not just the charisma and confidence, but also the right words. Because speaking is not only about charisma and confidence, it's about using the right words. And that's where my topic for today is, because we're going to be talking about crafting your message. In the first place, the essence of all we say, or the essence of what we do when we communicate, is the words that we put together. So if you do not have the right words, if you do not know how to put your words together, if you do not know how to craft a compelling story, you may not attain the height of a magnetic speaker, because a magnetic speaker is an all-rounder. The person is one who is grounded in the art of speaking. So when you're talking about the message, the storytelling, the structure, the persuasion, they have everything. That's an all-rounder. I see some comments here from Mokende, who says, I think a magnetic speaker is one who speaks and commands attention. Amazing. That's really correct. Ignatius says a magnetic speaker is one who can get the attention of people and get them engaged as well. And that's also very true. I could have come here and then just read out my slides, do my talk, and then just do not care whether or not you're following me. But as a speaker who understands the need to engage our audience, I had started with a question, and with 1, 2, 3 of you responding to that question, it tells me that you are in sync with what I'm saying. Because one of the many things of communication, especially in the corporate world, when we talk about communication, we say that it is not effective until there is a response, right? So it's a two-way thing. I am speaking, you're able to grasp what I'm saying, and you're able to respond or act according to what I am saying to you. So that's when communication is complete. And that's one thing I just put to test here. So if you are a speaker, or you're one who is looking to maybe be a facilitator, public speaker, event host, these are random tests that you must have in mind all the time. How do you engage with the people as a speaker? And like I said, a magnetic speaker is an all-rounder. They have it complete. This one is not a matter of I try today, I not try tomorrow. They know what to do at every point in time with a different audience that they engage with. They know what to do, how to do it, and also how to invoke the emotion and the action that they hope to get out of the platform that they find themselves. So that is who a magnetic speaker is. Having gotten that out of the way, I want to then ask you, if you were to rate yourself right now, the level you're in as a speaker, what level would you rate yourself? How close are you to being a magnetic speaker? So let's do a 1 to 100. So 100 being that you're fantastic, you're a magnetic speaker, and then the rest like that. So I want to see people in the chat box, or maybe you want to unmute your microphone and tell me how would you rate yourself? How close are you to being a magnetic speaker? Let's go, guys. I have very limited time. Okay, Olani Olamilekon says 28%. Okay. We can definitely boost that. We can boost that. Okay, who's going next? You don't have to speak with me if you don't want to. Just drop it. Okay, I see more comment now. Oluwa Damife says 25%. Mokende, right? Okay, I almost said Moreni KG. Mokende says, I would say 50%, because I think it depends on what I'm talking about per time. Okay, amazing. Dantex says, I think I can rate myself 60%, and I think I may want to agree with the voice and how you took on the first challenge that I threw at you. Fawaz says 20%. Obedience David says 65%. All right, great. Justina Ruben says 40%. Olamide Damilare says 20%. Amazing rating, I must say. And believe me, regardless of the category that you currently fall in, regardless of where you find yourself right now, one thing I need to let you know is you are not too far behind, okay? That is why I appreciate you for joining sessions like this, because I know that at the end of the day, you would learn 1 or 2 things to boost this particular rating or statistics that you currently have. So do not feel some type of way about where you currently stand in your rating at the moment. That said, thank you again for interacting with me. Let me just quickly get straight into my introduction and presentation generally. Team, if you have my slide, please put it up. I love that people can see what we're talking about as we're speaking. If you cannot, also let me know and let me see if I can share my slide from here. Okay, I think I should be able to do that. Okay, if you can see my slide, please let me know so that I can move very quickly. Can you see my slide? Okay, great. Okay, let's do it from here then, since we can see my slide. Okay, so I say that my topic, I can still see some comments. Okay, all right, yes, I can see. Okay, Olamide says 20%, Olushola says 15%. Okay, we'll just leave it at that, and then we'll see what you want to do to intentionally take that rating up. We'll talk about that at the end of the session. But again, my topic is crafting your message, structure, storytelling, and persuasive delivery. And remember that we're talking about how all of this in line with how to be a magnetic speaker, right? So all of these things we're talking about, everything we're going to mention is just to charge you up to becoming extraordinary. Now, that's who a magnetic speaker is. A magnetic speaker is extraordinary. These are people who have learned the craft, they've earned their skill, and they're able to move from being just an ordinary speaker to an extraordinary speaker. And how have they been able to achieve this? They are people who know how to craft their message. They're people who know how to structure their message. They're people who have learned the act of storytelling and, of course, the act of persuasive delivery. So all of these things we are going to learn together today. So yeah, in the summary, we've already talked about who a magnetic speaker is, and if there's one thing we've been able to outline in that particular definition from different people, it's the fact that this person knows what they're doing and they've been able to move from ordinary to unforgettable. And then we're going to look into crafting your message and structure. We're going to talk about storytelling to delivering your messages. We're going to talk about how to deliver your message persuasively. And then basically would conclude, hoping that at the end of the session, you would have been charged up to becoming more as a speaker. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Who's excited for this session? Who's excited for this session? Let me see your comment. If you're excited for this session, just drop your comment. Let me see how excited you are. And let me be sure also that you are writing something down. Make sure you have your pen. Make sure you have your paper. At the end of the session, I will try as much as possible to quickly run through what I have. And then I would see if I can take questions if the team permits. Team, please, I don't know how many minutes I'm speaking for specifically, so please just let me know. All right, I see all your excitement. Thank you so much. So let's just go straight into it. So yeah, my introduction, I did mention that in every room, on every stage, and in every moment where words are major tools, and that's establishing what communication is all about, people do not just remember what you say, they actually remember how you make them feel. And one thing that stands the people who grace stages out is how they are able to command attention, shift perspective, and inspire actions. These are some of the things that push for you to say at the end of a particular session that, oh, this person was fantastic. This person speaks so well. Oh, I love how they speak. You love how they speak because they were able to command your attention. You love how they speak because they were able to shift your perspective about something. You love how they speak because they're able to inspire you, right? And those are some of the things that qualify the magnetic speaker that we look at. And one of the things you also need to know is that a lot of the people who are able to achieve these things are not always the loudest people in the room. They are not always the most experienced people. I mean, I am not even as experienced as some people who are in this industry. But one thing that would always stand me out is not just in how I speak, my voice, or how I carry myself. It's in the power that my words deliver. So remember that being a magnetic speaker doesn't mean that you have to be the loudest in the room. It doesn't mean that you have to be the most experienced in the room. It's just about the power of the message that you carry and how you're able to deliver that message. And that's why I say that these people who you feel they are amazing, they command your attention, are people who have mastered. Can we have that person mute? Please mute your microphone so you don't interfere with what we're doing. Thank you. There are people who have mastered the art of crafting their message. The people who have mastered the art of crafting their message. And being a magnetic speaker is not just about having a perfect voice. I've talked about that already. It's not about the courage. It's not about the confidence. It's about knowing how to structure your ideas and how they flow with clarity. It's about how you tell your stories in a way that when your audience listen to you, they can genuinely feel you, they can hear you, and they can also see you. So it's a combination of everything. And that's one of the many things that you need to understand about communication. Communication will trigger three important senses in your body. It will trigger what you see, it will trigger what you hear, it will trigger how you feel. So if as a speaker, you cannot touch on all these three things as far as your audience is concerned, then you need to check it. At the end of every period or opportunity you have to speak, even if it's in a small room of leaders, students, whatever opportunity as an event host, you need to always put these things to test. Can they hear me? Is there clarity in my words? Is there clarity in my voice? Now you can hear the way I speak. As much as I'm trying to sound words correctly, I am still speaking with clarity. Now, I'm not forming any form of accent. I am not trying to act or speak like anybody. I am speaking like me. And as much as we want to speak right, maintain diction, and do all those fancy stuff, if people cannot hear you, then it's all a waste. So remember, I say that when you're communicating, these three things has to be triggered. What they hear, what they see, in terms of your energy, your courage, we'll get to that. And of course, what they feel. And what they feel is in line of, are they inspired? Are they disappointed? Are they downcast? Do they feel like they've wasted their time? These are three important things that are triggered every single time an opportunity you have to speak. And of course, it's also in how they deliver their message. Let me just run along. So what does it mean to craft a message? Because we might stay on a couple of slides and I don't want us to waste so much time. What does it mean to craft a message? We've talked about how this magnetic speaker is one who can hold their audience and all of that. So it means that if there's one thing they have learned properly, it's the act of crafting their message. And that basically means that they can craft their message intentionally, shaping ideas with words, delivery, and of course ensuring that their audience stay grounded with whatever it is that they're passing along. Their audience can understand them. Remember all of the things I've said about what they hear, what they see, and how they feel, right? So all of these things are triggered by the way this person must have communicated their message intentionally. And it goes just beyond saying something. Crafting a message is an art and a strategy. And that's why people who cannot commit to mastering this skill cannot become an effective or an all-round speaker. It's an art, it's a strategy, it's something that you need to consciously learn. Because at the end of the day, it's all about how you're able to connect, inform, influence, and inspire the people that you speak to. So basically, this is what crafting a message is all about. It's about what you communicate. It's about how you're able to connect with people. It's about how you're able to inform them. It's about how you're able to influence them. And of course, how you're able to inspire them. Now, why does it matter that you craft a message? Why does it even matter that you put an effort into crafting your message? The truth is, if there's something people would always say to me, someone I met says that the same way we talk about dressing, your look, and we say that if you walk into a room and you want people to stare, make sure it's what they are stare, right? It's the same thing with communication. It's the same thing with speaking. If you're in a room speaking to people and they have your attention, you have the microphone, or even without microphone or whatever, they have your attention, then you need to ensure that whatever minute or time you have to spend with this set of people, you need to make it worth their time. That's why it's important to craft a message. You don't have opportunity to speak with people and you get to their front and you're going mm. How many have you heard me say right now? The reason you will not hear me use a lot of fillers is, even though sometimes your brain can, pause for a bit and all of that. But the reason you will not hear me go, I mean, and all that stuff is because I am grounded in this conversation I'm having with you. I've been able to prepare myself for a time like this. Do you understand? So these are some of the things you need to know. If people are going to spend their time listening to you, then you need to ensure that it's worth their time. Either you're a public speaker, an event host, or a content creator. Always remember that effective communication influences perception as well as decision. So the things that how people would see you, what they think about you, all of these are formed as a result of the message you pass, how you pass your message, and how you're able to communicate with the people that are around you. So you need to always keep this in mind. I'm trying to run along now. So yeah, that's why it matters. So if I ask you why is it important for you to take your time to craft your message, I'm sure that you have the answer. If people are going to listen to you, you need to ensure that it's worth their time. Don't waste people's time. And the only way you will not waste people's time is to make sure that you stay grounded. You've rehearsed, you've planned, you have everything figured out. See, the time I took to prepare this slide for you is part of the time I have invested in the level of delivery that I'm currently having with you right now. So that's the same effort that you need to put into every opportunity you have to speak at every time that you have the opportunity to do so. Always never be overconfident. Never think that, is it not just to go and tell them? No, you would fail. Preparation is what would help you achieve results as a speaker. That's why as an event host, you will still see someone like me do my preparation over and over again. I have an event tomorrow. After I leave you guys, I'm going to run over my programs. I'm going to run over my introduction. These are some of the things that you don't see happen. They are the things, effort you put behind the scene to get the results that we have as speakers. So you need to always put in the work if you want to achieve the extraordinary status of a magnetic speaker. So how do you craft your message? In public speaking, your message is your anchor. I cannot overemphasize this. It is the core of your message. If you don't have a message and you don't have a reason to hold the mic. And having a message is not just saying story of your life and all of that. No. What I'm currently doing right now is to pass a message. My message is I have something I can pass on. This is a training. I'm passing on knowledge. It's a message, right? So in whatever form that your message comes, you need to understand that it has to be consistently fed, consistently nurtured, because it's in the consistency of your message that you're able to grab the attention of the audience that you have or you engage with over time. So you need to understand that your message is your anchor. And as a magnetic speaker, crafting a message is one of the most essential skills you must master. Before the delivery, before your stage presence, before even the storytelling comes, the message is important. And that's why I like that the topic and the message come first. Because without a message, there's no point dressing up. There's no point forming how will I carry myself. There's no point forming what will I got. No, the message has to come first. Do I have what to say? Do I have what I'm going to share with these people? And that's a question I also had to ask myself before coming on here. So that's one of the things that you must know. You must have the core idea of the audience you want to speak to. You must remember and act upon your message at all times. So your message is the first level to entering into any form of conversation, any form of message, any form of conversation, any form of interaction, either on the stage or off the stage. So how then do you craft a message? That's the question. So if I want to ask someone before I get on, how do you craft your message? You've seen all of the things we talked about. If you want, I think someone should quickly unmute if you want to answer. How do you craft your message? Anybody? Anybody? Or do we not know what a message is, even after all of my explanation? How do you craft a message? Okay, someone's hand is raised. Olowo Yusuf, please go ahead. Olowo Yusuf, please go ahead. I want to believe you wanted to speak to us, but if not, I see another hand. Dansek, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. From what we have covered, from our side, crafting a message is basically like bringing out or preparing what you are going to pass on. Because speaking is not just coming up and just saying and just speaking out of context,
Yeah.
but preparing what you are planning to speak is like just crafting a message. Because most of the time when people speak, it's like they haven't gotten something on their notes or their jotter before they come off stage and just start speaking. So to be able to magnetize people while speaking is best for us to craft our message in such a way that we prepare before we come to speak.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Amazing. Yes, it's about putting together all you want to pass on to the people so that three things can happen. Remember what we said: they hear you, they see you, they feel you. Okay, these are some of the major things that you need to always put to check as a speaker. Mokende says, I think crafting a message involves preparing the intro, body, and conclusion of your message in its simplest form. Amazing. I love the fact that you emphasize simplest form, which is very important, right? It's very, very important because, again, if people don't understand you, remember, communication is about simplicity. You need to ensure that people can understand you at every point in time. So I'm just going to share components that you can look at quickly and maybe jot down. So component for crafting a message. First, you need to understand your audience. So when you have the opportunity to speak, the first question you want to ask yourself is, who are these people I'm going to be facing? How do I communicate with them? How do I relate with them? On what level should I communicate with them? On what level should I relate with them? So you need to know the audience you're interacting with. The tone in which I would speak to managers in the boardroom is not the same tone I will use in speaking with students when I engage with them. It's not the same tone I will use to speak with ministers or presidents. So you need to understand your audience, what you're saying, the kind of things you say, how you say what you say, even when you want to crack a joke, when you want to tell a story, how you tell those stories, you need to know it. And of course, differentiate audience. How you would speak when you're talking to children is not the same way you would speak when you're talking to adults. So the simplicity of your message and categorizing your message in terms of the audience you're speaking with is very important. Two, you need to also have clarity of purpose. So now you've identified your audience, you know the kind of people you're talking to, then you need to have a purpose, right? Clarify your purpose. And by clarifying your purpose, you need to know, okay, what am I trying to communicate with these people? What's the message I'm trying to communicate with these people, right? How do I communicate? How do I craft this message for the simplicity of communication? These are some of the things that you need to also do when you're crafting your message. You see that everything I have done with this particular session or slide is to keep it as simple as possible. If I'm probably going to another forum, I may not craft it the same way. So that's just basically it. What is the goal you want to achieve with your message at the end of it when you're done with it? Another thing you need to do is you need to know how you're going to form an emotional connection. So now, do not just develop papers, do not just do slides, do not just script down things. Always ensure that you put your soul to it in a way that when you're passing on that message, people are not hearing a robot. They can actually feel human behind those words. So emotional connection to whatever you message you're crafting is very important. You need to have emotional connection, even if in this time of chat GPT and all that stuff, it feels like a lot of people are being robotic. Please make sure you don't find yourself in that angle, in that area, in that box. Yes, you can use this AI tools to enhance how you talk, enhance your vocabulary, enhance your script, and all of that. But ensure that you have an emotional connection to the things that you're saying or what you want to communicate so that you don't end up sounding like, what's this one even saying? Said, you don't want to be that person, okay? So emotional connection is very important. Another thing that you need to always focus on is simplicity and structure. I've emphasized this over and over again. Please forgive my repetition of numbers for some of those things. simplicity and structure, it's very, very important. You need to ensure that whatever message you're crafting, it has to be simple. It has to it must have structure, okay? Because again, your structure is in, I think somebody mentioned intro, body, and conclusion. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we swipe to structure. So your structure is also very, very important. The power of your pauses. Don't rush through things. Don't try to run along. You can see that within time or as I speak, I try to just breathe, take my pauses, let my brain think. These are some of the things that you also need to learn to do. Visual aids, just like I have done, I have provided you with things that while I'm speaking, you can also see. And sometimes it might not even take this format. Sometimes it could just be your gesticulation. It could just be how you use your body when you're speaking. If I were on a stage, I would not be speaking this way I am speaking right now. I would want to use my body some more. I would want to use my hands some more. I would want to be able to allow people to imagine what I am speaking or how I am speaking, what I'm speaking about, basically. But because this is an online presentation, the best I can do for you is to give you visual aids, which is this presentation, this guide to what I am saying, so that you don't just feel like, oh, you're hearing me. Because again, you know that these three things I mentioned about what they hear, what they see, how they feel, it's all encompassing, right? If I were just speaking and you cannot see anything, it just feels some kind of way. I'm just leaving you to your imagination. But now you're following what I'm saying alongside seeing how I have crafted my message in a document, and that sort of enhances the quality of my presentation. So always remember these things. And then you need to also learn to take feedback and adaptation, because again, these are some of the things that helps you to review your message. I think we need to wrap up. So yeah, I just need to run along right now. I'll just run along. My slide will be given to you guys so you can use it to read. So the classic act of structure. Let's get into structure very quickly. So we've talked about crafting your message. Let's get to structure. Just feel like Omokende preempted me. When it comes to structure, you're basically talking about your beginning, your middle, and your end. Just like she says, your intro, your body, and your conclusion. So it's either ways. And there's also something called the problem solution structure, right? That's for people who do public speaking a lot or speak on a particular cause and all of that. You need to do the problem, the solution structure. But for generally, this is the classic structure that we are used to: the beginning, the middle, the end, which is also the same as the intro, the body, and the conclusion. So yeah, these are some of the things that you must consistently work with. And for your beginning, we're talking about your intro, your hook, the story you tell, the question you ask. I mean, see how I started. I started by introducing myself. Slowly, I got into my topic. Then I asked you a question. So you can arrange it anyhow you want to. Just make sure that at the end of the day, the goal is the same. And it is the goal of your beginning or introduction is to orient your listeners and spark curiosity. With the way I asked questions, you can see how I got your attention and you were able to engage with me. Yeah, so that's the essence of your beginning and the things that you can use for your beginning to set the expectation for your entire topic. Now, the second is the middle or the body. And the goal of this is to build an understanding, because this is where you now explain your point. This is where you unpack all the ideas that you have. This is where you speak to the core of your message. Okay? So the goal at the end of the day is to build understanding, deepen engagement, and strengthen credibility. And finally, the end, which is the conclusion. And the goal of the conclusion is to create a transformative mind, to say that indeed I have been able to communicate effectively, not just communicate. Remember, I said there's a difference between communication and effective communication. So this is where you now begin to take home your ideas. This is where you begin to tie everything together. You call for your action. Have you been able to inspire them? Have you been able to leave their mind curious? Have you been able to leave them with something that they want to go ponder about? Have you been able to excite them? Because again, excitement is also part of communication or public speaking, right? Have you been able to charge them up to something? Have you been able to fire them up? This is where you put that to check in your conclusion. So these are the classic structure for in public speaking. So let's get to storytelling, which is the final point. Again, as a speaker, you need to know how to engage your audience. You need to know how to tell stories. You need to know how to use your experience, whether in what you do, to channel that into telling a story, to channel that into pacing what you have to say to the people you're speaking with, because these are some of the things that would form the heart and soul of your message, the heart and soul of public speaking. It's in the rhythm, it's in the pause, it's in the emotional connection. Remember that we talked about emotional connection earlier on, because again, people they will remember your facts. They may, I mean, before they even remember your facts, rather, before they remember, oh, this person is beautiful or gorgeous or I love their voice, they will probably remember something that you said that stuck with them. Okay? It's that thing you said, the story you told, or the thing that stuck with them. That's what they would use to remember you in all entirety. So you need to learn how to pace into your message by slowly getting the attention of the people you're speaking with something that entices them, with something that draws them into your style of communication. Because before they trust your message, they would connect with your humanity, and before they act on the ideas that you're giving them, they will feel something that moves them. So remember, again, we are getting back to those three things I mentioned, which is, can they hear you? Can they see you? Can they feel you? So it's all in these three things. If you do not take anything out of these things or the things I've said today, make sure you take out those three important tests of public speaking. So yeah, some of the formula for magnetic storytelling, I put it in the word ACE. That's the ACE. One is the attention you're able to command. C is the connection you have, and E is the extraction. At the end of the day, what did you gain? Okay, what is the lesson? What should they take away? Those are the things that form up the extraction. So you can just take this down. ACE. So that's also a measure to your storytelling. A, the attention. C, connection. E, extraction. And attention could come in different ways. It could be asking a question just like the way I did at the beginning, or whatever form that you want to adopt. So I'm speeding up. Persuasive delivery. So now we've talked about what who a magnetic speaker is. We've talked about what crafting a story, crafting a message is. We've talked about structure. We've talked about storytelling. Now we're getting to the final part, which is delivery. So what I've tagged this is persuasive delivery, speaking so people can listen, remember, and take action. Okay. Have you ever spoken to a room full of people and you felt like their words were just floating? Have you ever been in a gathering and it feels like, I can hear you, but I can't hear you. You know that kind of feeling? I can hear you, but I can't hear you. That only comes when your message is not clear. It comes when you're not able to get their attention. That kind of feeling comes when your delivery is not persuasive. And that's why persuasive delivery rather is very important. And persuasive delivery is just the art of turning ordinary words into messages that move people. It's a difference between a talk that informs and a talk that transforms. When you speak persuasively, your voice becomes a tool of influence, your presence becomes a catalyst for connection, and your message becomes impossible to forget. I know that even with this short time we have for this online session, you would take something, you would remember one or two words, and that's one thing that persuasive delivery does every time you walk into a room. It's just the way you're able to transform those words that you have set out for the people that you're speaking with, and doing it persuasively. So these are the three layers for persuasive delivery. One is your voice, and again, remember, they must hear you, they must see you, and they must feel you. And that's one of the key layers of persuasive delivery, the voice. How do you use your voice? From the time you start listening to me, you're not only listening to me because I sound good, my voice is good. I know that a lot of times, even when I step on stages, when I grab the microphone and I say good morning everybody, the first thing they say is, oh my god, our voice is so nice. Well, it's not just about my voice, it's about my tone, right? It's about my pace, it's about my strategic pauses. It's also about the way I emphasize keywords. These are the things that would trigger anyone to want to listen to me. So your voice is important in your delivery. Again, remember, even though we say that your message is the core or the anchor, you need to also train your voice. You need to also train your diction. You need to also train your tone and all of the things that, make up how you speak. It is very important. If you have a message and don't have the right voice for it, or the right tone for it, or the right diction for it, you may not get into every rooms. Remember, you may get into some rooms, but you may not get into every room. So you need to keep a balance between all of the things that we have said already. Number two, your presence. Your presence is your courage, it's your confidence, it's your stage manship or stage craft, as the case is. How, when you enter into rooms, your showmanship, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. When you enter into rooms, how do you keep your posture? How do you keep your confidence? How do you keep your movement? How do you keep your eye contact? These things are very important. And finally, your energy. Your energy is also important. Despite this being an online session, I can't see anybody here, but you can see that I am keeping a level of energy that would keep you engaged throughout my session. Now imagine you meet me in a physical session. No, just imagine. You can imagine the level of energy and courage and how much I would love to connect with you, especially because I can see your face, I can hear you, I can interact with you on a physical base, on an emotional base. Imagine at that point. So these are some of the things that you need to always work on. Your body language is also important. If I turn on my camera, you would see that despite being an online session, I'm using my hand, I'm using my body, I'm communicating to keep my energy at a particular level. Those are very important factors in delivery, in persuasive delivery. So finally, the ABC approach to crafting your message. Make sure it's simple, make sure it's clear, make sure it's direct, and make sure it's targeted towards an action. In conclusion, you need to remember that powerful communication is a result of intentional preparation. Powerful communication is a result of intentional preparation. I did mention earlier that none of us came into the world as a perfect speaker. We've had to learn it, we've had to train ourselves, we've had to practice. So the same way, you need to also know that if you want to be a powerful communicator, you need to intentionally prepare and deliver purposefully. Everything you say, from your structure to your stories, your energy, they shape how your audience receive and respond to you. And when you take your time to understand your message, when you take your time to clarify your intention and design a flow that leads your listeners from curiosity to clarity, you elevate your impact. Because again, at the end of the day, we want to be impactful speakers, right? And magnetic speakers do not just relent on their talent alone, they also rely on their deliberate choices, the use of their words, the tone they set, and the emotional journey that they create with words that they speak and the opportunity they have at every point in time. So as you continue to speak, as you continue to teach, as you continue to present or influence, make sure you commit to mastering the fundamentals. And what are the fundamentals? The fundamentals are basically preparation, practice, and the actual performance. I call them the super P's, right? Preparation, practice, and performance. And at the end of the day, you would see that you'll be taking your speaking journey from ordinary to extraordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, I always wrap up engagement like this by reminding you that there is actually nothing you want to become that you don't already have the power to do. So in my words, and in the words of Nike, I would say, just do it. Because again, being a magnetic speaker is not a day's job, I know, but it's also not impossible. You already have the power to become that. Just make sure you do the right thing, implement some of the things we've talked about, and you would see yourself flying. Thank you very much. On that note, I think I would take a bow and yield the microphone.